Hi, my name is Karen Edwards and I'm a storyteller. The story I'm going to tell you was one that I got from Chengiz Alka at Cape Clear Storytelling Festival. But this is my take on it and I hope you enjoy it. This story is set on an island called Oe, or Ui in the Gaelic, spelt Uaigh, and it means caves because Oe Island is surrounded by caves. It's a magical place to be. A long time ago, there lived there an old woman, and all she had in the world was her son Jack and a cow. Now, this old woman was very, very good to her son. She treated him like nobility. He didn't have to lift a finger to look after himself. She would wash his clothes, she would mend his clothes, make his food. All that lazy boy had to do was lie in the field and look up at the sky. And he used to wonder to himself, what must it be like to walk on the clouds? Sadly, his mother passed away, and Jack had no clue how to look after himself, and even less of a clue how to look after the cow. I know what I'll do. I will give this cow to the first person who can tell me what it's like to walk on the clouds and how I can do it. And Jack put a rope around the cow's neck. He led the cow down through the houses in the little village on Oe Island, right down to the shore, to the very last house where the wood carver lived, because it was said that the wood carver was the wisest man on the island. When the wood carver saw Jack coming, he thought, I think he must want to be an apprentice. It will be good to teach someone my skills. But when he opened the door, he got a shock. Hello, wood carver. I've come to see if you can tell me how to walk on the clouds, and if you can, I will give you my cow. Oh, you foolish boy, the woodcarver thought to himself. But he didn't say anything because he thought, if I don't tell this foolish boy what he wants to hear, somebody else will, and somebody else will get this fine cow. Or, worst case, the cow will die through neglect because he hasn't got a clue how to look after it. And so the woodcarver gave Jack instructions. And then he took the cow, he led it out the back of his little cottage, and it grazed on the lush green grass all day, until that evening the woodcarver had 2 buckets of the frothiest, creamiest milk you've ever seen. His wife came home from where she'd been picking dulse down at the shore. Where did you get that nice cow? I only had to tell that foolish boy from the other end of the village how to walk on the clouds to get that cow. You did what? You told a lie? Don't you think that God will be angry with you? Oh, if I hadn't told him what he wanted to hear, then somebody else would have, and they would have got the cow. Or else he would have neglected the cow till she died of starvation. Well, the woodcarver's wife accepted that, and that was the end of it between him and her. But meantime, the boy was following the instructions, because the woodcarver had told him to take his little boat, his little curragh, and to paddle it all the way across to Ireland. And once he got there, he was to walk in the direction of the high mountain, the one with a point, and that once he went to the top of that mountain, he would see a little house and that he could climb up on the roof, and from there he would be able to step onto the clouds. Well, the boy had set off with nothing but a pouch full of grain, and off he went in his little boat. He paddled and paddled until he got to the shore on the other side, and then he pulled the boat up onto the beach and he started to walk. He walked all day, and by evening time he was exhausted. He lay down beside a stream so he could get a drink of water, and just as he was falling asleep, he heard a sort of a thistle in the bushes. And when he looked, there was a fine Irish hare looking up at him. It was stuck in the thistles and the bushes, and the boy was kind, Jack was kind, and so he released the hare and set her on the ground. If you ever need any help, you just have to call for me. Pluck one of my silky hairs and keep it in your pocket, and I will come to your aid immediately if you call for me. Well, Jack laughed. How on earth could a hare ever help him? But he did what she said. he plucked one of her silver hairs and put it in his pocket and fell down and fell fast asleep. The next morning, the sun was beaming in the sky when Jack awoke, and then he heard a blackbird singing. And it seemed to Jack that the blackbird's song was, "You foolish boy, you foolish boy," because Jack was alone and he was far from home, and he wished that he'd never set out on this ridiculous journey. But what could he do? He was angry at the blackbird, and he decided to chase the blackbird. He chased it all day, until by the time evening came, he was at the foot of the high mountain. "Tomorrow," said Jack to himself, "I will climb that mountain. Tomorrow I will find the cottage and I will step off the roof into the clouds. I will fulfill my dream." He lay down to sleep. Just as he was dozing off, he felt something tugging at his elbow. "I've got a job for you. I've got a job for you." He looked down and there was the hare. "There's a king, and the king wants to travel over the land in a chariot. He's got a chariot led by 4 black stallions, and they will fly through the air. It's not exactly the clouds, but it's pretty close, and I thought you would be interested. But if you want the job, you have to come right now, because he's ready to set off anytime." So Jack thought, well, this was too good an opportunity to be missed. He followed the hare up the side of the mountain, right up to the top, and by the time they got to the top, the sun was rising. There was no cottage to be seen, but what there was a chariot studded with jewels, with gold, with silver, with rubies, with diamonds, with 4 black fiery stallions in front of it. The hare turned herself into a coachman, and shouted at Jack, "Remember, when you get into the chariot, you must not show fear and you must not show surprise. And if you feel sick when we're taking off, just close your eyes. But I promise you, you will see sights that you have never seen." Well, Jack climbed into the chariot, and there in the corner was the most wizened, wrinkly old man with a crown on his head that Jack had ever seen, and he was dozing in the corner of the carriage. Jack climbed in. He closed his eyes. The chariot took off. "You can open your eyes now." When Jack looked out of the window, he could see the blue emerald green of the sea below. He could see dolphins diving through the waves. He could see boats sailing from island to island. He could see dragons with tails that reached right up from the sea up into the clouds. It was beautiful. But then, all of a sudden, at the side of the chariot and the window, there was a huge eye. The king woke up. What is it? What is it?" He grabbed onto Jack's shoulder, but Jack remembered what he'd been told. "Oh, it's nothing. It's just a giant, but I have seen giants 20 times that size. Do not be afraid." Well, the king was comforted and fell asleep in the corner. And then he awoke, because he saw that the giant was tending to vineyards with grapes that were the size of tables. "I've never seen anything like it," he said to Jack. "Oh, sire, that is nothing. I have seen grapes 20 times that size." Well, the king was mighty impressed with this young man and the sights he had seen, so he dozed off again in the corner. The chariot sailed on through the sky. It sailed over Arranmore Island. It sailed on down the west coast of Ireland over Arran. The beauty of the scenery was to be amazing for Jack. And so, when it came to evening time and the sun was setting, they had reached the clouds, and there were gold and pink edges to the clouds, and it looked so wonderful that Jack could resist it no longer. He stepped out of the carriage, and he was walking on the clouds. The silence, the beauty, it was like candy floss. It was like cotton wool. And all of a sudden he wanted to share. So he pulled out the silver hair from his pocket and he called for the hare. "Yes, yes, what do you want? What can I help you with?" "I would like that the people down on earth would know that I have fulfilled my dream, that I have walked on the clouds." "That's easy. I have attached the cloud to the earth by invisible threads, and if you rock on this cloud, the earth will shake and tilt, and the people below will know that only you have the power to do this thing." "But I don't want anybody to get hurt. Is there no way that's a bit less harmful than that? Come with me, said the hare, and she took Jack's hand and led him over to the edge of the cloud. Sit down and let your legs dangle over the edge. Take off your hat and let it fall. I cannot guarantee that it won't do any damage, but I can assure you that it will fall on the woodcarver's house and that they will surely know that you have fulfilled your dream. Well, Jack did as she said. How could a hat cause that much damage? He dangled his legs over the edge of the cloud. He took off his hat and he let it fall, and he looked down, down, down as it fell. And he saw the hat fall on the woodcarver's house, and the woodcarver's house suddenly fall into smithereens of matchsticks of wood. The woodcarver and his wife ran out of the house and they looked up. Surely that is that boy that wanted to walk on the clouds. They were looking at Jack's smiling face as he waved down at them. Ah, it is! The woodcarver was amazed, and they both knew that Jack had fulfilled his dream of walking on the clouds. And even now that he was looking at the earth upside down, from the clouds down to the earth, instead of from the earth up to the clouds. And that's my story. And if you ever have a dream, if you try hard enough, you can fulfill it. Thank you.